Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly incredible. We're going to unpack a narrative from Surah YUSUF that carries just immense emotional and historical weight. It is a profound exploration of human psychology, devastating betrayal, and ultimately absolute triumph. So let's jump right in and see exactly how themes like beautiful patience, unseen providence, and radical forgiveness can literally transform a life.
Right off the bat, the source text actually calls this narrative the best of stories. And you might be wondering why. Well, because it operates as an absolute masterclass in suspense, divine timing, and just raw human emotion. From the very first lines, you're put on notice that you're about to experience this perfectly structured narrative arc. It's the kind of story where every single detail, no matter how small or how seemingly tragic, is actually a crucial puzzle piece in a much, much grander design.
So this brilliant design kicks off with a super vivid vision. Young prophet Yusuf goes to his father, Yaqub, with this profound dream. He tells him he saw 11 stars, the sun and the moon, all prostrating to him. But here's what's really fascinating. Look at his father's immediate reaction. Yaqub understands the immense weight of this dream, for sure. But instead of celebrating, he issues a really stark warning. He tells Yusuf, "Hide this vision from your brothers." Yaqub knows human nature, right? He knows that such a clear sign of chosenness is going to ignite this blinding, dangerous jealousy among Yusuf's older sibling.
And unfortunately, he hit the nail on the head. That jealousy was already festering. The brothers end up concocting this dark plot to just eliminate Yusuf and win back their father's undivided attention. They come up with an alibi, deciding they'll throw Yusuf into a hidden well and claim a wolf ate him while they weren't looking. But the harsh reality here is that this is a devastating, highly calculated betrayal of their own blood, driven purely by envy. They literally take this young boy, strip him of his safety, and cast him down into the dark.
Now this brings us to a really fascinating recurring motif in the source material, and that is the shirt. The brothers go back to their father at night, weeping these totally fake tears, and they bring Yusuf's shirt, which they've stained with false blood. So this is the very first appearance of the shirt motif, and here it's being used as a prop for a massive deception. It's physical evidence that they've engineered specifically to convince their heartbroken father that his beloved son was devoured by a wild beast.
Faced with this blood-stained shirt, Yaqub's response introduces a truly monumental concept, beautiful patience, or sabr jamil. Now, this isn't just about sitting around and waiting. It is patience without complaining to people. It's about turning all that profound grief and reliance entirely toward God. Yaqub actually suspects they're lying, but he chooses to anchor himself in this empowering mindset. And honestly, this is incredibly relevant to us today. You know, when we face our own personal tragedies or betrayals, beautiful patience offers this practical, dignified way to endure the unendurable, just by trusting in a higher wisdom.
Meanwhile, Yusuf's own reality is shifting terrifyingly fast. We're tracking a really rapid descent, followed by this wild, unexpected rise. From the sheer terror and isolation of that well, he gets discovered by passing travelers and is sold for a miserable price, literally just a few dirhams. He is reduced to property. Yet that unseen providence is already at work. He ends up being purchased by Al-Aziz, a really powerful minister in Egypt, who tells his wife to make Yusuf stay comfortable, even hinting they might adopt him. So in the blink of an eye, this boy goes from a dark pit to the literal halls of power in Egypt.
Living in this powerful household, the text notes that God granted Yusuf wisdom and knowledge as he grew up and reached maturity. But this comfortable setup actually sets the stage for a really severe test of character. The minister's wife becomes completely infatuated with Yusuf. She locks the doors of the house and attempts to seduce him, demanding that he yield to her. I mean, think about the immense pressure here. He's a servant, she holds absolute power in that house, and the doors are physically barred shut.
But Yusuf refuses. He races for the door to escape, and as she chases him, she tears his shirt from behind. And just as they reach the door, bam! Her husband, the minister, is standing right there. She immediately twists the entire story, accusing Yusuf of attacking her. But then, a witness points out a brilliant, undeniable fact. If his shirt is torn from the front, she's telling the truth, but if it's torn from the back, Yusuf was fleeing and she's lying. And well, the evidence is crystal clear. His shirt is torn from behind. Remember how the first shirt was a tool of deception? Well, this second shirt serves as the ultimate physical proof of his innocence.
Even with his innocence proven, though, the women in the city start gossiping. The pressure on Yusuf really intensifies when the minister's wife publicly threatens him with imprisonment if he doesn't comply with her demands. But Yusuf's response is just unwavering. He says, "My lord, prison is more beloved to me than that to which they invite me." This is absolutely crucial. It shows his uncompromising moral compass. He actively, consciously, chooses the hardship, the absolute disgrace, and the loss of freedom of a prison cell over sacrificing his integrity. He leans entirely on divine providence to protect his character.
And that brave choice leads him straight into the long, dark years of prison. But you know what? Even here, Yusuf doesn't stop being a force for good. He meets two fellow inmates and interprets their dreams, accurately predicting that one will be executed and the other will be saved to serve wine to the king. All Yusuf asks is for the surviving man to just mention his case to the king. But in this totally heartbreaking twist of human frailty, the man completely forgets Yusuf for several years once he gets freed. Yusuf just remains in the darkness, literally forgotten by the very person he helped.
But as we see throughout this story, divine timing is absolutely flawless. The narrative suddenly shifts gears to the highest power in the land. The king of Egypt has his terrifying, completely baffling dream. 7 fat cows are being eaten by 7 lean, emaciated cows, along with 7 green ears of corn and 7 dry ones. The king's advisors? They are completely stumped. They just dismiss the whole thing as a jumbled nightmare. But suddenly, that cupbearer, the man from the prison, remembers the brilliant dream interpreter he left behind in his cell all those years ago.
So, Yusuf is summoned. And he doesn't just interpret the dream, he delivers this absolute masterstroke of economic and agricultural strategy. He explains that Egypt is going to experience 7 years of abundant harvest first. During this time, his crucial instruction is to leave the excess grain in its ears so it doesn't rot, because following that, 7 years of severe, devastating drought are going to hit and consume everything they've stored. Finally, a year of abundant rain and relief will follow. Yusuf essentially hands the king the exact blueprint needed to save the entire region from mass starvation. Talk about a game changer.
The king is just incredibly impressed by his staggering wisdom and integrity, especially after Yusuf's innocence regarding the minister's wife is finally publicly established. So the king elevates him. Let's just step back and think about this incredible trajectory for a second. Thrown in a well to die, forgotten in a prison cell, and now appointed as the guardian of the storehouses of the earth, literally managing the nation's wealth. The very hardships that were meant to destroy him were the precise stepping stones God used to position him on the throne of Egypt, ready to save millions of lives.
Okay, now here is where the suspense really hits its peak. That severe drought Yusuf predicted, it hits the surrounding lands, including Canaan, which is where his family lives. Desperate for food, his father sends Yusuf's brothers down to Egypt to buy grain. They walk right into the royal court, begging for rations, standing directly in front of the powerful minister of Egypt. And they have absolutely no idea that they are bowing before the very brother they threw into a well decades ago. Yusuf recognizes them immediately, of course, but they do not recognize him at all.
Now, Yusuf doesn't just immediately reveal who he is. Instead, he orchestrates this elaborate, highly psychological test to see if they've actually changed. First, he demands they bring their youngest brother Benjamin to prove they aren't spies. He also secretly hides their money back in their bags to make sure they return. And when they finally do come back with Benjamin, Yusuf hides the king's measuring cup in Benjamin's bag, making it look like the youngest brother committed a crime. Why? Well, Yusuf wants to see, are they going to abandon Benjamin to save their own skin, exactly like they abandoned him all those years ago?
The brothers are totally trapped and desperate. They plead with the minister, even offering themselves in Benjamin's place, which proves they have finally learned loyalty and real regret. Seeing this huge transformation and their obvious distress, Yusuf just can't hold it back any longer. He asks them if they know what they did to Yusuf and his brother. Stunned by this totally impossible knowledge, they stare at this powerful ruler and ask, "Are you indeed Yusuf?" And then the emotional climax of the whole story hits as he simply replies, "I am Yusuf, and this is my brother."
You can imagine the brothers are absolutely terrified. They are completely at his mercy, guilty of treason against their own blood. But Yusuf's response? It's just extraordinary. He says, "No blame upon you today. May God forgive you, and he is the most merciful of the merciful." At the absolute height of his power, with every single right to exact vengeance, Yusuf chooses radical mercy. He completely and fully forgives the men who destroyed his childhood. It's just incredible. And this brings our incredible motif full circle. Yusuf gives his brothers a shirt, the third shirt in our explainer today. He tells them to take it and cast it over the face of their father, Yaqub, who had actually gone completely blind from years and years of weeping and grief. So the brothers travel back, they cast the shirt over his face, and miraculously his sight is completely restored.
Think about how brilliant this storytelling is. What began as a tool of deception and profound heartbreak, that fake, blood-stained shirt, is beautifully transformed at the end into a vessel of healing, light, and ultimate truth.
The whole story concludes with this breathtaking reunion. The entire family moves to Egypt. When they enter Yusuf's court, he raises his parents up to the throne, and they, along with his 11 brothers, fall down in prostration before him out of deep respect. Yusuf turns to his father and says, "This is the fulfillment of my dream from before, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars. The intertwined threads of beautiful patience, unwavering trust in divine providence, and deep, releasing forgiveness all perfectly wove together what truly is the best of stories."
And that brings us to the end of our explainer, but before we go, I really want to leave you with this question. Looking back at your own life, how might your greatest hardships have actually been setting you up for your ultimate success? You know, when you're stuck in the dark well or the prison cell of your own life, it's pretty much impossible to see the throne waiting at the end. But if we can learn anything from this profound narrative, it's that no trial is ever wasted and the master plan is always unfolding. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today.